They came out of fold transit in a standard salvage spread, 12 hulls, staggered diamond, transponders singing a frequency so old our systems flagged it as a museum artifact before they flagged it as a threat. I was on platform Cassia, Tier 7, manning the long-range optics rail when the alert chimed. My station runs the Mara Basin re-entry corridor, a 200-kilometer window of sky above what used to be called the Atlantic. I've held this post for 11 years. In 11 years I've fired my rail exactly twice, both times at debris, not ships. That morning I thought I might be about to change that number. Confirmed fold exit, my board reported.
12 contact.
Transponder codes match the Keth Compact salvage registry. Last active date on file, 53,840 years ago. I read that line 3 times. Then I opened a channel to command. The Keth Compact. I had read about them the way you read about geological events, things that happened long before any living person drew breath, forces that reshaped coastlines and left evidence in the rock. 55,000 years ago, approximately, the Compact had held a network of depot worlds across this arm of the galaxy. Earth had been one of them. Not a home. Not a civilization. A waypoint, a place to cache fuel cells, spare hull plating, and dried protein stock before the long run to the outer territories. They had not asked permission. They had not found a civilization worth asking. Whatever they found here, it had not rated a second look. They left. They moved their roots. Empires rose and fell somewhere out past the dark. And we were here. We remembered. Command's reply came in under 4 seconds, which told me they had been watching the fold exit since before I filed my report. Admiral Sen's voice was level. Platform Cassia, hold position and maintain passive scan. Do not illuminate targets. They're going to hail on the salvage frequency. Patch it through when they do. Understood, Admiral. And Specialist, whatever they say, let them finish. 8 minutes passed. I watched the 12 hulls adjust their spread, tightening into a descent formation. They were going to atmospheric entry without a conversation. That was either arrogance or assumption. They had not considered that anyone might object. An empty waypoint doesn't object. The hail came through at the 9-minute mark. A flat machine translation, the Compact's trade pigeon rendered into something close enough to standard to parse. Keth Salvage Authority to Depot Site Mara 7. Initiating retrieval operation. Estimated surface contact, 40 minutes. Please clear any orbital debris from descent corridor 29 Alpha. Confirm receipt. They said please. I found that detail remarkable. Later. I patched it to command. The Admiral came back in 60 seconds. Patch me through to them, Cassia. I opened the channel. What the Admiral said next was not a warning and not a threat. She spoke in a register I can only describe as the voice of someone who has been waiting a very long time to have a conversation and intends to have it correctly. Keth Salvage Authority, this is Admiral Yara Sen, Commanding Officer, Orbital Defense Command, Earth. You have entered controlled space without filing an approach declaration. Your transponder codes are registered to vessels decommissioned 53 millennia ago. Before you continue your descent, I need you to understand one thing. The depot at Mara 7 no longer exists. In its place is a city of 40 million people. Please adjust your approach accordingly. Silence on the channel for a long time. Not the silence of static, the silence of something computing. Then, confirm. Mara 7. Fuel depot and cache facility. Registered Keth Compact property. Last inspection cycle 53,841 standard years prior. Request surface coordinates for retrieval of logged inventory. The Admiral didn't sigh. She said, patch them Platform Soren, Platform Vecca, and Platform Cassia visual feeds. All 3. I understood then. I routed my optics feed to the outbound channel and opened the rail's tracking mount to its widest aperture. Not to paint them, just to show them what the mount was. Platform Soren and Platform Vecca did the same. What the Keth saw on their screens at that moment was the Mara Basin from 3 angles. The southern reach of what we call the Meridian Shelf, a coastal megacity that had taken 4,000 years to grow to its current height. Towers that caught cloud cover at their upper thirds. A shipyard so large it had its own weather systems inside the dry dock bays. And above the shelf, at staggered altitudes from high atmosphere to the edge of low orbit, the gun rails of 22 defense platforms hanging in the morning light. We weren't pointed at them. We didn't have to be. The mounts were simply there, the way a wall is there, not threatening, not gesturing, just present at a scale that needed no interpretation. I watched my sensor board. The 12 hulls had stopped their descent. They were sitting still in a formation that had, without my noticing the exact moment it happened, become much less confident in shape. Then 3 of the hulls went active on their own sensor arrays, a deep penetration scan, the kind used to map orbital structure and count hardware. I know because Cassia's passive receivers logged every frequency they pushed. They were counting the platforms. Not just the 3 we had shown them. They were sweeping the full Mara corridor, looking for what they hadn't been shown. My board filled up. Platform Vecca confirmed the sweep. So did Platforms Dunn, Ashla, and the 2 high-altitude rail stations over the southern shelf that we call the Sentinels, which don't advertise themselves and which the Keth scan resolved on their 3rd attempt. By that point, the compact hulls had found 19 installations in the basin corridor alone. There were more outside it that their sweep didn't reach. I opened an internal channel to the Admiral. They're doing a full structural scan. I know, she said. Let them finish. It'll save us a conversation. She was right. It did. The hail came back. Different voice this time. Higher register in the machine translation, which I was told later is a marker of seniority in Keth compact command structure. Asterisk, what is the nature of this installation? Asterisk. Earth, the Admiral said. We live here. Asterisk, your technology index was not logged at this level at last survey. Asterisk. No, she said. It wasn't. Another pause. Then, and I saw this on my board before the channel registered it, 4 of the 12 hulls began a slow lateral drift, angling toward a lower orbit track. Not a descent burn. A repositioning. The kind of movement a fleet makes when it is trying to place itself at a better angle before it decides what to do next. The Admiral saw it too. She didn't comment on it to the Keth. She opened a side channel to Warship Command and said 3 words, bring Ardent up. HMSV Ardent had been running a parallel track 60,000 kilometers sunward of the basin, hull cold and transponder silent, for the past 6 hours. It was a fleet carrier. Its running length was just under 3 kilometers. When it lit its drives and crossed in front of the Keth formation's new angle, the compact hull stopped drifting inside of 90 seconds. Nothing was said about it. The channel resumed as if it hadn't happened. The Admiral let that question sit for a moment. I think she was giving them time to feel the weight of what they were actually asking, which was not a technical question at all. It was the question a traveler asks when they return to what they thought was an empty house and find the lights on, the fire burning, and a table set for someone. Long enough, she said. On my board, I saw the 12 hulls begin to adjust. Not descending. Rotating. The specific attitude shift of a vessel that is re-evaluating its options with regard to a gravity well. They weren't running yet. But they were no longer assuming. Asterisk, we have logged inventory at Mara 7. Compact property under Salvage Authority Register 11-Mara. Asterisk. That register is 53,000 years old, the Admiral said. The inventory is gone. The land it sat on is a transit hub for a city of 40 million. If there's something specific you're looking for, I'd encourage you to tell me what it is before you take another course of action you'd regret. I want to be clear about something, because people who hear this account secondhand sometimes imagine that moment as a confrontation. It was not. The Admiral's voice never elevated. She did not threaten the Keth fleet. She did not tell them what our platforms could do, or how many more existed beyond the basin corridor, or how many warships were currently running parallel tracks at the edge of their sensor range. She said none of it. She didn't have to. The math was visible. It was standing in the morning light, not pointed at anything. What she did was give them a way to choose. The Keth commander, I'll call him that, though compact rank structure is considerably stranger than the word implies, came back on channel after 6 minutes. His translation voice had dropped to a lower register. Asterisk, we are reviewing the status of this depot site and 3 others in this system. Can you confirm whether the cache sites designated Mara 3, Mara 9, and Veldsouth are similarly occupied? Asterisk. I can, the Admiral said. She put him on hold for approximately 4 seconds, which was theatre, because she already knew the answer. Mara 3 is a tidal research station above what we call the North Span. Mara 9 is the primary landing grid for our largest continent's interior trade routes. Veldsouth is the site of the Leren Monument, which you probably wouldn't recognize, but which is significant to us. All 4 sites. All 4 sites. And the 17 others we found references to in our own historical archive. We've been cataloguing your old waypoint system for about 6,000 years. We expected you might come back eventually. That last sentence was the only moment in the entire exchange where I felt something sharpen in the Admiral's voice. Not anger. Closer to the feeling of a hand placing a document on a table. Deliberate, final, the completion of a very long piece of work. The Keth did not respond immediately. I watched their formation on my board. The 12 hulls were cycling their drives, not for a descent burn, for a fold calculation. My hand was on my rails activation toggle, not because I intended to use it. 11 years on platform Cassia and I understood what it meant to hold a weapon and let it be visible without letting it speak. The toggle was there. The rail was aligned. Everyone who needed to know those 2 facts already knew them. We will require time to review the status of our registered holdings in this system, the Keth commander said. We will contact your authority through formal channels before any further approach. We'll be here, the Admiral said. The 12th hull finished its fold calculation. Then the 11th. They didn't leave in a panic. The Keth have too much discipline for that, which is one of the things that makes them dangerous and one of the things that made their eventual understanding credible. They folded out in the same staggered diamond they had arrived in, orderly, measured. The last hull sat for an additional 40 seconds, long enough that I wondered if something had gone wrong with its drive, and then it was gone too. The Mara Basin re-entry corridor was empty. I filed my after-action report at 0943 hours. The report was 3 pages. The contact duration had been 31 minutes. My rail had not fired. No platform in the basin had fired. No warship had broken its patrol track to intercept. The Keth fleet had calculated, then chosen, and then left, and Earth had done nothing except stand where it was standing and let them see it clearly. There are people who hear that and feel like something was missed, that we should have pressed harder, demanded more, made some statement with force that words hadn't made. I understand the impulse. 55,000 years is a long time to have been someone's waypoint without being asked. But we had waited 55,000 years to have that conversation, and we'd had it exactly the way we intended to. The platforms were lit. The city was behind us. The register of their old depot sites sat in our archive, every one of them catalogued and named by people who had been tracking the compact's historical routes for 6 millennia against the day when those routes might be walked again. That is what memory looks like when it has had enough time to become preparation. That is what readiness costs, not in the moment, but in the generations that held the line before the moment arrived, who kept the record and trained the next watch and built the next platform and asked nothing in return except that the work continue. My shift ended at 1200. I signed the log, cleared my station, and took the elevator down to the platform's lower deck for the shift change briefing. Through the observation port I could see the meridian shelf in the afternoon light, the towers catching haze at their tops, the dry dock bays, the long lines of the shipyard reflected in the water below. We had built all of it not because we knew they were coming back. We had built it because we knew that someone, somewhere, eventually would, and that when they did, we intended to be the kind of world that doesn't need to explain itself twice. The Keth Compact filed a formal contact request through the Galactic Registry 14 months later. The Admiral accepted it. That conversation, I'm told, went much the same way. Quieter, if anything. Earth tends to have that effect on people who come back expecting to find what they left.